Hello, welcome to the Sutlifting Report. Today, we are going to cover some interesting material on Section Q of Reliance of the Traveler. This section is not what you think it is, because the section is entitled Enjoining Good and Forbidding Evil. We're going to have to ask some serious questions about Islam when we start to read this. Now, I usually start with a devotional, and here's what I'm going to tell people. I want to keep that going, but I think at this point, I want to keep that separate. So, anybody who wants to join me, getting a daily devotional, I'm just going to put my email in the chat room. If you want one pretty much daily, the only days I do not put them out is the weekend. So, I send one out every Monday through Friday, pretty much, and just send me an email. Say you want to be on the you want to get the devotional, and I'll just send it out to you. My goal is to build people up in Christ, and the best way I know is to give you deep dive devotionals, which is what makes my life stronger. Is diving deeper into the Word of God. If you go to Amazon or Ingram Spark or paulsutliff.com, you'll find devotionals I've written, and they're there. My belief is that the more you study the Word of God, the stronger you become as a Christian. And yes, you have to have that heart into the Word of God, into the Lord Jesus, and you will learn so much. I'm just going through Isaiah. I'm in chapter 30, and it's just exciting. And it's the opposite of this guy called Allah, who I'll use Usama's word, Uzr. Allah is Uzr, which means little or smaller. Smaller than what? Just like Allah Akbar. Allah is bigger than what? An ant? A molehill? I don't know. But that's their definition. So let me get us right into this topic. And let me get this screen up. Here we go. We are going to be talking about Section Q in the Reliance of the Traveler. This is the book of enjoining good and forbidding evil. So I want to cover this because it does not state what you would think it states. It's different. And they're very secretive to the Muslims who don't know Arabic in this section. The Muslims who don't know Arabic are basically being deceived. And if you think I'm lying, let's find out. Let's read their material and see if it's true. All right, who is doing the deceiving? So let's go. Now, the title they gave is Commanding the Right and Forbidding the Wrong. Well, we're talking about, in Arabic, it says enjoining good and forbidding evil. They're changing words slightly here. Commanding, enjoining. Enjoining means you encourage. Doesn't mean you command. There's a little difference here. The question that has to be asked is, what is good in Islam? And what is evil in Islam? Eric, what do you think good is in Islam? If we're going by Islamic standards, what's good?
More Muslims, forced conversions, subjugation of those that will not convert.
So you get more sex slaves.
All the things that we value in Western culture, you just think the opposite, and that would be what's good.
Yes, that's the thing that has to be understood. Now, if you understand that part, you'll probably understand the rest of it. But again, if you're Muslim and you don't know Arabic, you're going to be totally deceived by this section. And that the sad truth is, this is what they're expecting. So, what's good in Islam? And it's Quran 9:29 says, engage in war with those who do not believe in Allah. So jihad is good, nor in the last day, nor forbid what Allah and his messenger forbid, nor believe in the religion of the truth among those who have been given the book, until they pay the jizya out of hand and they are subdued. So as Eric said, subjugation is good. Fighting the non-Muslim is good. That's what jihad is. Oh, this is this is the thing you have to ask. What is good? And if the war, or we would call it terrorism, right, is good, you only pay jizya if you have to do that in order to be allowed to live another year. So this is, or they'll steal your children or wife or whatever they have. They can even kill you. Those are the things historically that happen. All right, let's keep going. Section Q. I want to point out at the beginning of this. Q0, that's 1, is how it's done. And it says the discussion and analysis that follows. All of this that follows was not in Shariah. This whole section. That is, to me, humorous. Discussion and analysis follows are on galleys, edited by the Angali scholar Adama DC. Okay, this is going to get interesting. So, Eric, I'm going to ask if you would read the stuff on the right here. This is the Arabic translation. I've checked to make sure it's accurate.
Sure.
And I checked to make sure it was accurate.
Okay, so we're going to Division Q 0.2. Know that enjoining good and forbidding evil is the greatest pillar of religion, and it is the most important thing. Allah sent the prophets with it. And if it were to be neglected, religion would disappear, corruption would appear, and the country would be ruined.
So the country, that's that word ummah, or nation. So the ummah, the collective group of Islam, would disappear. So what is enjoining good? I mean, this is the thing we have to think about. They haven't defined it. This is important. You have to define things. And if you don't define things, we're in trouble. That's a real problem, which I find in that continually I find with this group. Now, I don't know if anybody's listening because we're not getting comments. So if you would like to comment, we'd appreciate it. Here we go. Let's go on to this next page here. Question Q1.0, the obligation of enjoining good. Q1.1, Allah, I'm reading from the right for a reason. You're going to see this. Allah Most High said, and let there be among you a community, this is the Ummah, inviting to good, enjoining what is right, and forbidding what is wrong. And it is they who are the successful. That's 3:104. This verse clarifies it is a communal obligation, not an individual obligation. So when something's obligated to a community, you're not obligated to do it. That's a problem in a lot of cases. So if nobody wants to do it, it's nobody's fault. So the whole community gets punished, but it's not anyone's fault. So there's no sin to be accrued to any individual. And this is kind of humorous in the long run when you think about that. And it says, then let there be among you a community. He did not say, be all of you enjoining good. So if a sufficient number of people undertake it, it's no longer required of the rest. How do we know it's sufficient? No numbers. I guess Allah can't put any details in. He just doesn't know. There are many verses in the glorious Qur'an about enjoining good and forbidding evil. This is going to get humorous. So Quran 3:104 is what they cited. Eric, can you read this verse, please?
Sure, yeah. And that there will be among you a nation calling to the good and commanding what is right and forbidding from the evil, and those are the prosperous.
Now, to be honest, when I started this section, I called Usama and I said, can you explain this section to me? And so we're going through it. We're looking at the Quran verses. This is the first one they use. So he says, well, we need to go look at Al-Tabari. This is he says Tabari, I say Al-Tabari, but regardless, Tabari says this, and he gave me the Arabic, and this will blow your mind. When you look at what we just read, I'll just go back and point it out. This seems very bland. There will be among you a nation calling to the good and commanding what is right and forbidding from evil, and those are the prosperous. So that's supposed to be a good thing, right? I mean, that's what you would think. Telling people to do the right thing is good. Telling people not to do the wrong thing, that's also good, okay? You're telling people to do what's right and not to do what's wrong. That sounds good. But in Islam, is it? Now, this is what Al-Tobri says. He says, a group of people invite others to goodness. Okay, we're talking about dawah, meaning to Islam, and its laws that Allah has prescribed for his servants. And they enjoin what is right. He says that they command people to follow Muhammad. So this is not a choice. Muhammad, peace and blah, blah, blah upon him, and his religion that he brought from Allah. And they forbid what is wrong. Which would be what? Oh, meaning they forbid disbelief in Allah and rejecting Muhammad and what he brought from Allah through their jihad against them with their hands and limbs until they submit to you in obedience. So this whole verse is about jihad, killing the non-Muslims, forcing the non-Muslims to submit. This is quite revealing. So, I read this and I thought, okay, what's really wrong with telling someone to do good and not to do bad? And now you're finding out that this is all about telling people they must engage in jihad. And this is a physical engagement in jihad against people who don't believe in Allah and his prophet. I have to say, that kind of blew my mind. It wasn't what I expected. This is what I was trying to find out. And my questions originally that I asked were, what's good and what's bad in Islam? Now you're finding out what they really consider good, engaging in jihad. Oh, engaging in jihad in Minnesota means scamming the non-Muslim. You got Somalians taking hundreds of millions of dollars out of the country. It's been documented. It's now being shown. It's starting to appear in news shows. Yes, that's good. According to Islam, that's normal. According to Shariah, it's acceptable. Wow. All right, let's go on here. Eric, if you could read what's on the, we're going to go straight for what's on the right this time again. I'm sorry.
Read what's on the right?
Yes.
Okay. On the authority of Num bin Bashir, may Allah be pleased with him, who said, I heard the message of Allah, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, say, the example of the one who stands up for the limits set by Allah, the one who transgresses them, and the one who comprises them, is like a group of people who boarded a ship.
Wait. Hold on a second. I got to ask, Eric, have you ever read a parable that makes sense in the Qur'an?
No, not like this. This is silly.
Okay, we're reading a parable, but written by people.
It's like they all boarded a ship. Like they would know about this in the middle of a desert, right? Yeah.
It's going to get funny. Here we go.
Some of them were in the lower, rougher, and more dangerous part, while others were in the upper part. Those in the lower part, when they needed water, had to pass by those above them, thus inconveniencing them. They said, if we were to make a hole in our section and draw water from it without inconveniencing those above us, then if they let them do as they please, they would all perish. But if they restrained them, they would all be saved.
Does that make any sense?
No. What the heck? That's inconvenient. Okay. Those in the lower part who needed water had to pass by. Okay. If we make a hole in our section, these are the people in the lower section, right?
It sounds like the Titanic about to happen again.
Exactly. Right. You're going to drill a hole in the bottom of the boat to get water. Okay. And without inconveniencing those above us, then
Real-
if they let them do as they please, they would all perish. But if they restrict, what the heck does that mean? What does
so
that
this
mean?
is even dumber because, I mean, you don't think about lakes in a desert. You don't think about rivers in a desert. So what are we talking about? Seawater. Are you really going to drink salt water here?
Yeah.
You'll be going insane really quick. You have to store the water on a ship that's at sea. This just shows you the ignorance of the people who wrote this. I mean, critical thinking destroys Sharia easily, sadly. But again, anytime they try to tell us a parable, it's just
Maybe it's did Osama translate this from that Arabic that's written there?
I went through Google Translate and I spoke to Yusuf and he helped me fix a couple things in here. So Yusuf is from Saudi Arabia. So I'm sitting here laughing at this. Like I wanted to check because to me this made no sense. And this is almost word for word to Google. There's just some slight changes. To me, it's hilarious. This is their best. And if you look on the left, I'll just read the one on the left. Those who keep, start with a parable part. Yeah, who may be compared to a people on a ship, some of whom stay below deck in the hardest and worst place, while others get passage above. When those below need water, they pass through those on the upper deck, injuring and annoying them until those below reflect. If we were to stave a hole in the hull,
Wow.
we could get water without troubling those above. Where do you think they're storing the water, guys? In the bottom of the boat, most likely, or maybe an upper level.
Well, that's where the storage normally is in the bottom.
Yes.
Of the boat.
So
And
they're the ones who are going to be easily access the water.
And I hate to bring this up, but they normally did not store a lot of water on boats.
Yes,
because it goes bad. They would store wine instead.
That's another reason why sailors were known for drinking.
Yeah.
Yes. Well said.
Not a brilliant man, this Muhammad guy was.
Well, I mean, these are the people who created Sharia, so this is like hundreds of years after Mo was dead. So this is hilarious. It's not from the Qur'an. It's not from the Hadiths. It's just
Bukhari wasn't compiled.
Bukhari Hadith. Okay.
Yeah. Bukhari was compiled in 870. So this is
it's ridiculous.
240 years after Muhammad's dead, they're putting this together.
Yeah.
Makes sense to
me.
I
think it's actually later than that, but it still this just makes me laugh. I'm sorry. And the question marks here, does this make any sense? The answer is no.
No, it doesn't.
And the truth is, just like Eric said, they had to bring wine, they had to bring other things to drink because the water would go bad. All right, let's go on. And okay, I'll read this one. It is narrated in the well-known hadith by Muslim that the Prophet said, "Whoever among you sees an evil action, let him change it with his hand. He's not able to do so, then with his tongue." So when we're talking about change things with their hand, that's jihad. Every Muslim knows this. Well, if he's not able to do that, then you go to the next lower level of jihad, which is jihad with your tongue or jihad with the word, okay? That's what it's talking about. And then it says, if he's not able to do that, let him hate. Oh, that's the heart level of jihad. That's the lowest level of jihad. It's right here, okay? In another hadith, the best jihad is a word of truth spoken in the presence of a tyrannical ruler, narrated by Ahmed. And in another hadith, when you see my nation, the Ummah, afraid to tell the oppressor you are an oppressor, then bid them farewell. My nation, my Ummah, tell the oppressor you're an oppressor. What? You're going to go up to the tyrant and say, you're a bad dude. Tyrant will do what, Eric?
A tyrant?
Yes.
The tyrant is going to steal from you, enslave you, repress you, and that's exactly what Muslims do every time they've gotten some type of power and control. I've been reading quite a few of Raymond Ibrahim's books here in the last couple months. Sword and the Scepter, Two Swords of Christ. I can't remember what the other one was, but it basically details what Muslims have done over the centuries to Christians in the West. And there is yet to be recorded in any of his books, and it may be intentional, I don't know. But when you talk about the subjugation of Spain, when you talk about the subjugation of North Africa, when you talk about the subjugation of Syria and all these other Christian enclaves that existed prior to Islam, the MO is always the same. They would go in there and they would kill the men, and then they would enslave the women and children. That is what Islam has done for 1400 years. And so when I read this, it says in another hadith, when you see my nation afraid to tell the oppressor, you are an oppressor, then bid them farewell. You're full of crap. Who is the oppressor here? Who is the one that is enslaving the other? Look at what the Ottoman Empire did for five centuries, for crying out loud. I mean, this is
hold on. It says this is let's take it a little bit slower, because this is where I think it's humorous.
Sorry.
When you see my nation, so we're talking about Muslims afraid of the oppressor, it's their country. It's a Muslim leader.
Well,
so the Muslim tyrant is the leader.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just that the oppressor is the Muslim.
Yes.
In most of these cases, you will find that the oppressor is the Muslim. So to try to justify, I mean, this is what they do. They try to, make themselves out to be the victim in almost every single case where they attack other people. They're saying, well, we were being oppressed. No, you weren't. You were being greedy. Or you were being, in a lot of cases, just being horny. You want to go in and steal the women for your harem. And with a lot of these,
if you read it on the, if you read this on the left, it says, when you see my community, again, the Ummah, being intimidated by an oppressor, it doesn't mean an outsider. That's what I think it's the Muslim leader is the oppressor. And then we get down to this last part. Can you read that last paragraph?
On his authority, he said, enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong, or Allah will unleash the worst among you upon the best among you, and then the best among you will supplicate, but their supplications will not be answered.
So you can pray and pray and pray, and Allah won't answer your prayers. Another reason not to pray to Allah other. Yes, I mean, if you're living in a Muslim country, let's pick on Iran, and your tyrant leader won't listen to you because you're calling him a tyrant, which is currently happening in Iran, then nobody's prayers in Iran get answered. Well, what can we say? Was that 57 countries we could say that about? Or close to that? Wow. All right, let's keep going here. Q1.3. Yeah, you read that. Here we go. Sorry. Abu Bakr
Here we
stood
go.
up.
This is an example of moral uprightness.
Abu Bakr stood up, praised and glorified Allah, and then said, "O people, you recite this verse. Oh, you who have believed, upon you is responsibility for yourselves. Those who have gone astray will not harm you when you have been guided." Let me read this on the left. All right. Oh, you who believe, you are responsible for yourselves. Those who go astray will not harm you if you are guided. Let's pay close. Those who go astray will not harm you when you are guided. So the Christians won't harm you because you're Muslim. Yeah, that's true. The Jews won't harm you because you're Muslim, unless you're trying to kill them. That's the difference. Because the Jews and the Christians are not going to harm you. That's not their goal. Is not to harm you. Their goal is to bring you to Christ. Okay. People who do not change. Let's go to the last part over here on the right. But we heard the messenger of God, of Allah, I should say, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, say, if people see someone who is broken and do not change his condition, Allah is likely to inflict them with punishment. So Allah is going to attack those who don't believe him. That's what this is about. If people see someone who's broken, people who have left Islam and don't do anything to change that condition, they'll kill them. Yeah. So this is what this is all about, killing the non-Muslim. The section, it's just unbelievable. And so let's take a look at what Quran 5:105 says. It says in Usama's translation, "O you who have believed, take care of yourselves. He who errs will not harm you if you have the guidance. To Allah you all will return, so he will inform you of what you are doing." Okay. This is what the scholars say this means. If it will not harm you if others disbelieve and follow a path other than the truth. Like I was saying, the Christians and Jews don't want to follow as long as you are guided. Oh, well, they don't care if you don't. Yeah, they do care, but they just don't need to go attack you because that's not their way of life. It might be Islam's way of life, but not anybody else's. All right. Believe in your Lord Allah and obey him with what he has commanded you and forbidden you, by considering what he has forbidden as unlawful and what he has permitted as lawful. You can kill your children in Sharia. You can kill the non-Muslim in Sharia. You can kill those who leave your faith. Oh. Then it goes on. It's narrated from Al-Hasan that this verse was recited to Ibn Masud. "O you who have believed, take responsibility for yourselves. No one goes astray will harm you when you are rightly guided." Ibn Masud said, this is not the time for this verse. Say it as long as it is accepted from you, but if it is rejected, then take responsibility for yourselves. Now this gets humorous. Ibn Umar said, this does not apply to me or my companions because the messenger of Allah said, let those who are present inform those who are absent. We were the ones present and you were the ones absent. However, this verse applies to people who will come after us. If they say this, it will not be. Look, they have all these different opinions. They don't know what it means.
I'm trying to figure out what it means to be guided. It says that as long as you are guided, believe in your Lord. Guided by who? Muhammad?
Allah. But it's basically, might as well say the same person.
Well, it is the same person. We know that. But let's just pretend it is Allah. Okay, so Allah says a lot of things that you can do, that you should do. And one of them is the continuous theme that we find is fight. Yes. Fight. That all you're doing is spending your entire life fighting people and fighting with people in order them to follow what you believe is from God. What God does this?
It's a very, the God who is the chief of all deceivers. And in the Christian and Judeo realm of belief, that means Satan. And he's not a God, he's other. He's little, he's small in comparison. All right. So I
just can't believe people believe this. This is what it's just hard for me to believe that people actually believe fervently that this is the word of God. I just can't.
That's the stuff that gets me, because when I've gone with Usama and we've gone into mosques, we've discovered that many in the United States, many imams, leaders of mosques, don't know anything about the Quran. What they have to know, according to Shariah, is Shariah in order to lead a mosque. They should know the first surah. That's it. They don't have to know anymore. because if they don't know Arabic, they can't read their Quran. And they only have to know Sharia to become the leader of the mosque. This is the stuff that's never going to cease to amaze me. In the Judeo-Christian world, you have to know the scriptures. You have to know them. If you don't, well, and the people in the church are supposed to be able to tell you when you're wrong. They're supposed to be reading along when you're giving a sermon and say, oh, they're supposed to stop you if you're telling something that's untrue. That's how it's supposed to work. But as you can see in many churches today, they like their ears tickled.
Oh, yeah.
So that's not. How about this one from Sunnah Nasai? This is one of the ones they cited. A man asked the prophet when he put his leg in the stirrup, which kind of jihad is best? He said, a word of truth spoken before an unjust ruler. This is, an unjust ruler. And you're only going to ask which kind of jihad is best to a Muslim. The unjust ruler is a Muslim.
Right. I'm thinking, yeah, that's like kettle. This is black. Hello.
Yes, you got to sit here and start asking questions. And this is the highest grade, Hassan. Okay, this is not Sahih. It's in the middle. It's not. Oh, we're up to maybe 84%. Okay.
This is Nasai. Yeah. And I was last night on the show, we were talking about Al-Tabari and how he talked about Sahih Bukhari and how authentic Sahih Bukhari was, and he said that any hadith that is considered
Sahih,
Sahih is 99 to 100% dependable. Anything that is Hassan is 85 to 99% dependable, and anything that is Da'if is still 45 to 84% dependable. So when we start looking at a Hassan narration here, well, you still have at least an 85% chance that this, even though it is Hassan and not Sahih, it's still a pretty good chance that this is something that you could, according to what they believe anyway, if it was from Bukhari, not Nasai, but if it was from Bukhari, you could believe it. But this
so we can have a little bit more fun here. Let's remember, this guy is asking Muhammad, which is the kind of jihad is best. Who's the unjust ruler at this time? There's
something I want to.
Muhammad, he's talking about himself.
Yeah, I want to. Something just doesn't seem right to me, and I might be wrong on this. I'm willing to be wrong on this. It says he put his foot in the stirrup. This is like David wearing chainmail type thing.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh no. Okay, this was 200 BC. All right, never mind. Well, in China, it was developed in China, 322 AD.
Went to this
415 AD. Okay. All right. I'm saying, everything that I find in the Hadith literature or in the Sirah, you always find suspect, especially when they start talking about historical things that could be considered anachronistic that didn't exist.
The fact that there's actually a small detail here is amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Stirrup is a small detail. It's like, okay, you don't find the details in the Quran, but you might find some in Hadiths. All right. Let's go on to that next page. Here we go.
Sorry.
If you could read the section below the white.
Sure. Okay. Conditions for enjoining good and forbidding evil, legal capacity. Know that the pillars of enjoining good and forbidding evil are 4. One of them is that one committing the evil is of legal age. a Muslim, and capable. This is a condition for the obligation to forbid it. A discerning child may forbid evil and will be rewarded for it, but it is not obligatory upon.
Okay.
Hold on. Hold on.
I had to stop and ask myself when you're probably asking the same thing. Wait a minute. The one doing evil is Muslim, and a child can. Okay, what child will tell an adult, "Sorry, you're doing wrong," without fear of some physical reprisal?
Well, he said that there's 4 conditions, and he only lists 3. Am I wrong on this?
Okay, so let me read it up here. In commanding the right and forbidding the wrong, the first of which is the person doing so be legally responsible. That's 1.
Okay.
Muslim, that's 2.
Okay.
Be able to, that's 3.
Be able.
Yeah. That is 3. That's 3. Though a child of age, that doesn't make sense. You have to wonder if I'll understand how to count. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, the one committing it is legal age, a Muslim, and capable. Okay.
Yes. And then they start talking about the opposing, a child of age of discrimination.
We miss.
So depending on who you are in Islam, you might say a child age 9, because if girls can enter and become marriageable enough to have sex, then they're considered adults at that age. Okay. Puberty is the age where you consider them of age. Okay. Who condemns something dishonorable? That's the opposite side. All right. The person who's doing wrong, you've got 3 conditions. This is 3 plus, like 3 apples plus 1 orange does not equal 4 apples. That's what we're doing here. He doesn't understand. This is why critical thinking is important.
Just not doing.
Yep. 3 apples plus 1 orange does not work. All right. So Q2.2. And again, I'm going to read what's below. Justice, the exact translation, justice is not required. Okay. Up above, notice they said moral rectitude is not a condition. Those are huge differences in what's actually said. Q2.2, as for the justice of the wrongdoer, some people considered it and said the transgressor cannot judge someone, and they only cited the Most High, saying, "Will you command the people to be righteous and forget it yourselves?" And they have no proof in that. So I tried this section when I went through it, and it was, the Google translation was horrible. And Yusuf straightened this out for me. So thank you again, Yusuf. This made no sense to me in Google Translate. So there's a lot of times you have to have an expert in language, and thank God I have that access to that. So they're actually saying you shouldn't have a bad judge. Okay, I'll agree with that. The person who's making judgments should not openly be a sinner. Okay. But if we're talking about Islam, we have a problem here. The only sin that really exists in Islam is shirk. You can rape the slave walking by you. You can rape the non-Muslim walking by you, because that's your right as a Muslim, according to this book we're reading, according to the Qur'an. Those are rights afforded to you. So, I mean, even the book that talks about the major sins, if you read that, you find out there are no major sins except for shirk. This is why I ended up jumping ahead to here. There was nothing. There was no sin according to Islam, according to Shariah.
Well, if you're a practicing Muslim, I mean, we've said this several times. If you're a practicing Muslim in the United States or in Western civilization itself, oftentimes it will land you in jail.
Oh,
The things
yes.
that are permissible and that they are allowed to do in their own Sharia compliant countries are illegal here in the West. If you would grope a woman who is not veiled or is not does not have hijab on in any way, shape, or form, that's sexual assault here in the West. Or it's supposed to be anyway.
Yes.
In Sharia compliant countries, that is expected. That is what you're supposed to do in order to keep a woman in line. And then plus we've gone through we've gone through this book several times and picked out laws that are completely incompatible with Western civilization. Slavery, for one. If you practice slavery, I mean, you're going to jail. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's 2026 for Pete's sake, but yet here you still have. I was watching a video this morning where they've caught a bunch of men from, it was an East African nation trying to get into Saudi Arabia, and they're selling them into slavery is what they're doing. These guys were just trying to get out of their country. I think it was the Congo or someplace. I can't remember where. And all they were trying to do is just trying to get to Saudi Arabia so they could work. And now they're being sold into slavery. Well, when we start talking about, it says, as for the justice of the wrongdoer, are these men that are enslaving these people, they're Muslims, are they wrongdoers? Is it wrong to do that? Well, then you have to ask yourself the question, did Muhammad do it? And if Muhammad do it, how can you say it's wrong? At any time. Did Muhammad practice slavery? Did Muhammad enslave people? Did he sell slaves? Did he own slaves? Yes. So how can you say that is wrong?
Did he rape a little girl? Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. Talking to that idiot that was a junior who says, well, if the girl doesn't complain, it's not rape.
Yeah, that was just crazy.
Oh, that's so disgusting.
Nobody's recorded a complaint from Aisha, so it's not rape.
Yeah.
Still pedophile. I don't care if
that's
you don't call
why I
it
say
rape or not.
whatever Canadians, people who are out there, watch this guy. Be scared. Yeah, I wouldn't want him as my neighbor. All right. No. Not to protect mine. I would do it.
I wouldn't want him anywhere near me. This is one of the biggest complaints that people are having today, is saying that we don't want Muslims living with us. We don't want them near us. Well, and they say, well, that's bigotry. That's discrimination.
It's knowledge.
Not. It's
knowledge of what's right and wrong.
Right. I know what these people believe, and I know what they practice. And if they believe that and they practice that, I don't want them anywhere near me or my family. If this is what you truly believe, I don't want you close to me. If you want to practice that someplace else, fine. But that is, you have stepped outside of the bounds of religion, and now you are impeding on other people's rights and sensibilities too. I mean, let's just be real about it. I mean, to think that some of these things that they practice is okay because Muhammad did it. No, you're sick.
Exactly. All right, Eric, can you read the section on the right here?
Yes. Some stipulated that the one who repeats be authorized by the imam or the governor, and they did not permit individual subjects to do so. This is intentional because the verses and hadiths are general and indicate that whoever sees someone in distress and remains silent is disobedient. Therefore, specifying the imam's permission is arbitrary. Know that the snake has 5 levels: introduction, admonition with gentle words, and the third, insult and rebuke. What?
Okay, introduction, admonition, gentle words. How do we get to the? Oh wait, there's another piece here. Okay, let's read the rest of this. Okay. Oh, we got to go over here for the rest. The fourth, the prohibition and coercion. So the fourth, prohibition and coercion. Now, this seems to go off course. and I want to point this out. All of a sudden, they're talking about breaking musical instruments and spilling wine. Wait a minute. Let's go back. What was that about? We were talking about someone, whoever sees someone in distress and remaining silent is disobedient. Okay, so marriage, the woman's silence is her consent. The woman could be in distress, so if her father, her mother, her relatives see her in distress, their silence is disobedience to Allah. But that negates Allah's rules. You have to sit here and wonder if they realized they were, yeah. And notice over here on the left, they said 5 levels of censure. Over here we have, say, 5 levels. Where is it? I don't see. All right, intentional because the verses. Okay, yeah, this is just a problem. Five levels of the snake. The snake. That's the actual. Because I checked this with Yusuf. I was like, what? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Again, we're at the 4th. Breaking musical instruments and spilling wine, the 5th. Intimidation and threats of beating or directly beating him until he desists from his actions. So you've gone from breaking his musical instruments. So you're into physical action, the 4th and the 5th. You're beating the guy. All right, in the 5th, what are you doing? The 4th level, you're beating his things. In the 5th level, directly beating him until he desists. I mean, that is just, it does not make good sense. Forcibly stopping the act, they're saying. You have to sit here and wonder what they're really. So if you are engaging in jihad through all this, you're doing right. Okay. If you are not engaging in jihad, they can beat you until you join them. That's pretty much as simple as it gets. Continuation of the practices of the early Muslims in enforcing public morality over the rulers is, again, over the Muslim, over the caliphs we're talking about, is conclusive evidence of their consensus, the Ummah, of their need for delegation. It is asked, is the responsibility of public morality established for the slave? Over here on the left, there is no mention of a slave.
No mention of what?
A slave. No mention at all over here on the left in the English translation. Every time the word slave is used in Arabic, it is left out in the English translation of Reliance of the Traveler.
Why is that?
It is, because they're afraid, I'll say it, people like Nation of Islam, people who are black, like in America, or in Europe, will not want to listen to anything Islamic as long as they're talking about slaves. Oh, that's interesting. Why? Because if you check the history, that their word for black, okay, we could read this another way. Public morality established for the black, because the black person is called abd, which is the word slave in Arabic. That's the truth. So you can read that either way. And the wife over the husband and the subjects over the ruler, we say the principle of authority is established for all. We have arranged 5 levels for the slave, one of which is enforcing public morality by informing the ruler, then by admonition and gentle advice. The 4th allows them to break the musical instrument, spill the wine, and the like. And the arrangement should be followed with the slave and the wife. As for it gets down to, okay, you say something gently, and then you go out and you beat him till he gets things right. I mean, so you're playing a musical instrument. They can come break your musical instrument. Again, they're against musical instruments. I saw a concert. I think it was in the UAE or Saudi Arabia, and I just have to sit there and laugh because if you're following Sharia, they're going to be breaking those instruments. Really, would you bring your best musical instrument to a country that is Islamic? I wouldn't. There's no way. This does not, I mean, as much as you read this to try to make sense of it, it's not really sensical. And they're mentioning a slave as a level. I mean, it's as low as you can go. The slave has to do everything he's told, or yeah, they can do just about anything to that person. It's bad. All right, Eric, can you read 2.4 for us on the? You can read the left side if you'd like.
Yes, it is a necessary condition that the person condemning something wrong to be able to do so. Someone who is unable is not obliged to condemn it except in his heart. The obligation is not only lifted when physically unable, but also when one fears the problems will result for one, which he comes under the heading of inability. The obligation to censure the wrong is likewise lifted when one knows that the reproach will be ineffective. 4 situations may be distinguished with respect to this. 1, when he knows the wrong will be eliminated by speaking or acting without this entailing problems for oneself, one is obliged to censure it. 2, when one knows that speaking will be ineffective and one will be beaten if one does, one is not obliged to.
So, Eric, do you have a problem here with, okay, I mean, if you don't say anything, are you guilty if someone's doing something wrong? That's not
according to this, no, if you're afraid to stand up for the wrong, something is wrong because you fear for yourself, then you can just keep your mouth shut. And, you know, if you see somebody being beaten, if you see, let's say, for example, a slave, if you see a slave being mistreated in Islam and you don't say anything about it, you could say, well, I thought, let's see here, number 2 here, when one knows that speaking will be ineffective and one will be beaten if one does, one is not obliged to. So if I say, hey, quit beating your slave, and the person is a powerful leader or a powerful man, he can come back and beat me for that. Well, I can say, well, I didn't say anything because I was afraid that he would beat me. And it says right here under the Shariah that I don't have to say anything, even though it is wrong, even though I know it's wrong. What a crock of crap.
And this is only the first 2 levels. And this is the thing that I'm sorry, this is morally wrong if you don't stand up. I mean, this is our country. This country was based on freedoms that God gave us. And if we don't, I mean, even the Bible tells us if you don't give God your heart, you're going to be morally bankrupt. The Bible tells us this over and over and over and over. And even in Judah and Israel, they end up getting in real serious trouble because they don't give God their whole heart and they become morally bankrupt. They don't tell people to, something's wrong. They allow it. And God makes them pay that price over and over and over again. This is messed up. All right, let's go on to this. We've got the first 2 conditions. I'll read the next 3. When one knows that one's censure will be ineffective, but it does not entail problems for one, it's not obligatory because of its ineffectiveness. So if I know one's censure will be ineffective, so if I tell someone something and I know that it's not going to work because I told them, I don't have to say anything. So if I know my boss is breaking the law, and if I tell the boss to stop breaking the law, I know that he's breaking the law. It's kind of like shut your mouth. You might get fired. But if you go along with things, you're incriminating yourself. This is crazy. Then it says, this is a comment. Hadiths that seem to show the non-obligatoriness of the commanding of the right and enforcing the wrong are understood by Islamic scholars, referring to specific situations in which censure is ineffectual. Again, if we're talking about jihad, which is what they said in the beginning, if you're not joining jihad, and they can beat you for not joining jihad. Now start thinking about this. There's all these reasons not to beat you, not to make you to agree, and until they get to the point where they're strong enough to enforce what they want, they're going to stay silent. And when they get to that point, they're just going to beat the crap out of you. This is what's happening in Europe today. Then we get down to commanding the right and forbidding the wrong will be obligatory until the day of judgment. And when one knows that it will cause problems for one, but the wrong will be eliminated by censoring it, such as with the breaking of a flute or dumping out wine, when one knows one will be beaten for it, then one is not obliged, but rather recommended, as is evidence from the hadith. The best jihad is speaking the truth to an unjust ruler. We're going back to the Muslim leader. You're going to tell, yeah. This is still silly. I'm sorry. And this is where, if you want to continue here, Eric, please.
Sure. Yeah.
On the left. Yeah.
There is no disagreement among scholars that it is permissible for a single Muslim to attack battle lines of unbelievers headlong and fight them, even if he knows he will be killed. But if one knows it will not hurt them at all, such as if a blind man will hurl himself against them, then it is unlawful. Likewise, if someone who is alone sees a corrupt person with a bottle of wine beside him and a sword in his hand, and he knows that the person will chop his neck if he censures him for drinking, it is not permissible for him to do so, as it would not entail any religious advantage worth giving one's life for. Such censure is only praiseworthy when one is able to eliminate the wrong and one's actions will produce some benefit.
So if you believe snitches get stitches, keep your mouth shut. Someone tells you that, keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. Don't protect your neighborhood. Don't protect your friends. Don't protect your family. Keep your mouth shut. This is why so many communities that have these problems don't say anything. It's like they're following Shariah. It's sad.
I'm just thinking Rosa Parks.
Yeah.
Everybody said that what good is it would do if you say anything, if you do anything. So just keep your mouth shut. Is only praiseworthy when one is able to eliminate the wrong. Well, she didn't know she was going to be able to eliminate anything. So when is it permissible, or when is it obligatory to stand up and say this is just wrong and you need to stop it? When is it wrong to stand up to the ruler and say enslaving people is just wrong? When is that obligatory?
Well, if we're talking about enslavement, it's never going to go away in Islam, because that would mean Muhammad was a sick dude, and then he couldn't be a prophet. It's the same thing with pedophilia. You can't do that. But if we're talking about something like playing music, it tells them to go in and break the musical instruments,
Yeah,
and then beat the crap out of the guy. But only do that if you're physically able to do it.
yeah. Where was that? It says they pour out the wine and break the.
Yeah, that's back.
Speaking.
The fourth case here. Yeah, such as breaking a lute or spilling wine. No one knows.
Oh yeah. It's under 2.3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says
It's crazy.
Reviling and harshly, forcibly stopping the act by such as breaking musical instruments or pouring out the wine.
It's stupid. I'm sorry. This is just stupid. All right. We're going to go on Q2.5. I think this is your turn, or is it mine?
That's right. I got it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think you read that one. All right, I'll read this one. Next one. Okay. If the one committing, I'm going to read from the right side for a reason. If the one committing the wrong knows that he will be beaten along with his companions, then enjoining good and forbidding evil is not permissible. So if someone can beat me up for saying something, I should shut my mouth. Because he's unable to prevent the wrong except by leading to another wrong. Wait, another wrong would be getting my butt beat. But would I be in the right for saying something? Doesn't matter. The wrongs count more. All right. Q2.6. In these matters, we do not mean by knowledge anything other than a strong presumption. So whoever strongly presumes that harm will befall him is not obligated to forbid it. That harm will befall him is not obligated to forbid it. If he strongly presumes that no harm will befall him, then it's obligatory. So if I don't think anything's going to hurt me for saying something, I should say something. But you live in fear. You're letting fear control your lives. Those who follow the Lord Jesus have faith over fear. Sorry, we're not. We don't live in fear. We live in faith. Your Allah Azr makes people live in fear. These are laws that encourage people to live in fear. Wow. It says the state of the coward is not taken into account, nor is that of the reckless brave, but rather the state of the moderate in nature and sound in temperament. There's nothing moderate about being afraid. There's nothing, fear has its purpose. I will say that. Fear is healthy. You should fear disappointing your parents. You should. You should fear saying something your parents would be disappointed in. Absolutely. Maybe you should fear a spanking from your parents if you're going to do something you know is wrong. But I think the fear of disappointing your parents is worse. All right. Q2.7. By harmful, we mean beating or killing, as well as plundering money and public shaming in a town with a stern face. As for insults and abuse, think about this. They are not an excuse for remaining silent. So bad words can't hurt you, okay? Because enjoining good and forbidding evil usually results in such consequences. Yeah, you get insulted. Now you have to talk about what does abuse constitute? Are we talking about financial abuse? Can you be harmed financially for doing it? Well, this whole topic is supposed to be about jihad. This is where it gets humorous. If we're talking about jihad, this means totally something different than what we expect. Sad. If the Muslims are ready to kill you, if you look over here, it says acquiring a bad name as for being reviled. So the Muslims in town are going to beat the crap out of you, or maybe they won't. If they won't beat you up, you can say that what they're doing is wrong. Really, all your neighbors are jihadis, and you're out there telling them, don't be a jihadi. Then you're doing wrong because that's what Allah says he wants. So you won't be doing that one. You might be the one getting beaten up because you're not engaging in jihad. All right. We're on one of the last ones, I think. Or did we go? I think we're getting there. All right. What is subject to accountability? Eric, if you could read the right side here.
What is subject to accountability? 3.1. The second condition is that what is subject to accountability be something reprehensible, present at the moment and apparent. The meaning of it being reprehensible is that it is prohibited by Islamic law. And reprehensible is more general than sin, for it, if someone sees a child or a madman drinking wine, he must confiscate his wine and prevent him. And our saying present at the moment excludes someone who has drunk wine and finished drinking it and the like. And it also excludes what will be present at the next moment, such as someone who is known from the context of his situation to be determined to drink tonight, so there is no accountability for him except by admonition. And our saying a parent excludes someone who commits sin in his house and closes his door, for it is not permissible to spy on him unless he reveals what he knows of it.
So if they're sitting behind closed doors, say nothing. And respect their privacy is what this. In some sense, I can agree with that. You don't need to be listening at the door to find out if someone's doing the right thing or the wrong thing. That's just creates a problem. That makes some sense, but this is messed up. I mean, the guy who's drinking, they're talking about a child out there drinking or a madman drinking wine. You're going to confiscate. Eric, what happened? I mean, you were a military officer and you were an MP, right? You try to take a soldier's beer when they're off duty. What's going to happen?
If I'm off duty?
Yeah, and they're off duty.
Well, they'll probably want it back. They'll probably want to fight to get it back.
Yeah.
It's their beer. Why would I be taking their beer away from them? Unless, of course, they were underage. I guess that could be but even then, I wouldn't. Anyway, that was just me. I wouldn't. If you're in the Army and you have a beer, I don't care if you're 18, 19, or 20. You're in the Army.
You're willing to die for your.
I didn't care what the state law said. You can't have beer if you're 20. Look, if you're a soldier, you can have a beer. That's just the way I looked at it. But I understand what we're trying to do here in this context.
This doesn't make sense because, they're allowed to. If just taking part in jihad will absolve these sins. So there's another question. Why did they even write about this? Because all your sins are supposed to be wiped clean if. Yeah. It kind of doesn't make sense, but that's the way they're going. All right. If you could read the green part here.
It is outside the house, like the sounds of flutes and cymbals. Whoever hears that should enter and break the instruments of entertainment. If the smell of wine is present, then it is more apparent than it is permissible to denounce it. There is no room for compromise regarding matters of disagreement between the schools of thought.
So wait a minute, we shouldn't spy on them, but if we go by and we hear instruments or we smell alcohol, we should break in and break the instruments and break the wine. What was it about respecting people's privacy?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay, well, if it's a parent, it says a parent excludes someone who conceals his disobedience at home and locks the door. It is not permissible to spy on him. An exception is if something is manifest to another outside the house. So if he's inside the house drinking, well, you really can't hear that unless, he's spilling wine all over the place and you can smell it. And then maybe you have a legitimate gripe. But the guy that's in there playing his drum set, because I used to have a guy that lived across the field from me here, out behind me. He would play. I could still hear him playing that stupid drum set, practicing them drums, clear across the field. Well, does that mean that I can go over there and now, because it says whoever hears should enter and break the instruments of entertainment, should I cross that field and go smash his drum set because I can hear it now? Well, that apparently is what this is what this is saying, that it's okay to do
I
it.
suggest to you, anybody who follows that guideline is going to find themselves in court or maybe physically harm themselves because, I mean, you're being a. I mean, I get having bad neighbors is no fun. I'll have to say I'm spoiled right now in my new place. I've got great neighbors. I was just telling Eric before, we had a snowstorm last night, and my wonderful neighbor went and plowed the end of my driveway. I have to go say thank you later to him. But this is just insane, to think that you could walk in someplace, complain about the noise, and then go destroy what they had. There's no sense of private property here. And that's the truth about Islam. There really isn't, because even slaves can be owned by multiple people. So this is one of the reasons why commies and Muslims get along so well. No sense of private property.
Yeah, I would, if somebody comes in, let's say I'm playing music on my television or a stereo system that I have, do they have the right to come into my house and destroy that because I'm listening to it and enjoying it?
Good point.
Good luck, because if you come in somebody's house here in the West,
Castle doctrine.
exactly. I was going to say, we have a castle. You come in I don't care why you're coming in. You don't like the music or not. You're coming into my house. You're being carried out. That's just that's the way it is there in the
That's
West.
how it works in the West. Doesn't matter if you're. I mean, in Canada and some places that still works, but in the United States in general, that law applies. Even in DC. Even in DC. All right. I'll read what's on the right here. It is a condition. Okay. One may not condemn another for questions involving differences among schools of jurisprudence. It's a condition for denouncing something wrong, that it be known to be wrong without the need for interpretation. Don't. This is really confusing, if you ask me. Everything that is subject to interpretation has no sensory basis. Therefore, a Hanafi cannot denounce a Shafi for eating something without mentioning Allah's name, nor can a Shafi be arrogant towards a Hanafi for consuming a small amount of wine that is not intoxicating. Not intoxicating. We have non-alcoholic wine. I don't know if they had that back then, but that's just a little bizarre. You can't have one school disagreeing with the other ones and then trying to force their school upon another school. That's what they're saying. So whatever the rulings are from a particular school, you just have to accept it.
Whatever happened to Q 3.3? Or no, never mind. It just
we're
goes
getting there. It's next.
3.2 to 4. Okay, never mind. I'm reading it wrong.
That's next. Yeah, you're right.
Well, no, there shouldn't be. There isn't one. You got 3.2, and then it goes to 4.
4.
So
okay,
that's fine. Yeah,
all right. If you could read the right, then.
Yep, the one being rebuked. The third element is the one being rebuked, and it is sufficient for him to be a human being, and it is not required that he be legally responsible, as we explained before, that he rebukes the child and the insane person.
So this is kind of humorous. You can have a person who is prepubescent who is allowed to rebuke a child or an insane person. Are we saying this child is, not legally responsible? This is weird. Sufficient, if I read the left side, sufficient that he be a person, not necessarily be legally responsible. Why would you want someone who, well, I can kind of get this. All right, let's say you have a child who is causing trouble, and other people around you don't see it. You're not the parent. And you get tired of watching this child get other children in trouble. So you pick up the child and you tell them to sit down. And the parent turns around and turns you into the police. You weren't responsible for that. The question we come into again is what's right and what's wrong? And if you're afraid to say what's right, what does that mean? Are you letting those other children get into trouble? Here I'm going. You just say nothing because I think there's a moral responsibility. There's a moral imperative. And this is where they don't have that. And that's the scary thing. All right. I'm going to jump ahead here. We're going straight to 5.0, the act of censuring. Enjoining good and forbidding evil. If you would like to read the right.
You want me to read this?
Yeah, if you could, please.
Okay. Enjoining good and forbidding evil. The fourth pillar is the interpretation of enjoining good and forbidding evil, and it has degrees and etiquettes. Being aware of evil. 5.2. The first degree is to recognize the evil. He should not eavesdrop on someone else's house to hear the sound of strings, nor should he expose himself to smelling to detect the scent of wine, and nor should he touch what is covered with a cloth to know the shape of a flute, nor should he consult his neighbors to find out what is happening. Rather, if two trustworthy people inform him directly that so and so is drinking wine, then he may enter and forbid it.
Wait a minute. What if he gets crap beat out because the guy's a mean drunk? Is he supposed to do anything then? I mean, if that's
I don't know how you live in an environment like this, to be honest with you, where you have to be suspicious. Not only you yourself have to be suspicious of enforcing these morality, etiquette, this morality etiquette, and then you yourself have to be leery of people spying on you. I mean, this creates a society of. It's like Soviet Russia, where you're afraid everybody's spying on you. You think that you're, anti-communist or you're a capitalist pig, being out amongst them or something.
Yeah, us capitalists, we might be telling the truth, and we don't want. They didn't want that. Yeah, I remember. Yes, yeah, we grew up during that red. Yeah, the only good red was a dead red, is what we were taught as high school kids. Yeah. All right, going on. Explaining that something is wrong. The statement of I'm just going to cut down here because this is so wordy. If you notice on the left, all these words, but the real truth is this: it's the second degree of explaining the act is wrong, since an ignorant person will often do something he does not know is blameworthy. Well, the truth is we all do something we don't necessarily know is wrong, and then when we find out, we should just own up to it. It says people are not born scholars. We were unfamiliar with many things in the sacred law until scholars mentioned them to us. Wait a minute. If you read your sacred book and you can't figure it out from reading it, and some scholar has to explain it to you, that's a very difficult book to read. It's not clear. It's a muddy book. In the Bible, it's very clear. It's very simple to understand. And as far as the rules go, they're very, very simple. If you actually read them, I would say a third grader can read it and understand. They might not understand the word adultery by that age. Okay, we'll go to a sixth grader. Will a sixth grader understand? Absolutely. Oh. So that's probably the most difficult thing a child has to understand would be the concept of fornication or adultery. And those terms would be understood by a sixth grader today. But they need scholars to tell them what's in their law. And that's this. This is what we've been finding since the beginning of studying this book. Scholars have to exist to explain to the Muslim what Islam really is about. I mean, you have to have scholars to tell them how to pray. Sharia is the only thing that tells Muslims how to pray. There is nothing in the Qur'an tells them how to pray. There is nothing in the Hadith that tell them how to pray. And you have Muslims doing things all over the world. Like right now, we have Muslims praying in streets. I was just reading in the news in Germany, there are Muslims praying in the middle of the road. They put a little tent up, transparent tent, so they can pray in the middle of a road in Berlin. This is crazy. But Sharia tells them
in the middle of the road. It's odd that they don't pray in the middle of the road in Saudi Arabia or Pakistan or Indonesia.
Well, the reason they don't is because Sharia tells them they're not supposed to do that.
Right. So why are they doing it in the West?
Because it's a show of power.
Right.
Yeah. That's what makes it acceptable in Islam. As long as they're showing they're superior to non-Muslims, that's what they're doing. And this is, again, you only know this stuff if you study Sharia. This is the whole point of this section of studying this stuff. It's kind of mind-numbing, I will say. We're getting towards the end of this. This is a tough section in that respect, that it's annoying. And I'm going to go through this one section too awful quick. Third level, engage in preaching, advising, instilling fear of Allah, citing narrations of warnings, and relating the biographies of the seers of the righteous predecessor. This should be done with compassion, gentleness, without violence or anger. Herein lies a great affliction to be avoided. And again, you get the scholar to tell you things. It says, an example of this is someone who saves another from hell by burning himself, which is the height of ignorance, a great humiliation and a delusion from Satan. That doesn't even make sense as a story. All right, there's nothing there to explain how that's even possible. And that's the best. And this is in their Sharia. Again, another story they can't explain. It's delusional. And they say it's delusional. A delusional story. All right, I'm going to jump ahead. Eric, if you could read 5.5.
Sure. Change by word. Fourth degree. Insults and harsh, rough words. This is only resorted to when gentleness fails and when signs of persistence and mockery of admonition and advice appear. We do not mean obscenity and falsehood, but rather we say to him, O wicked one, O fool, O ignorant one, do you not fear God? God Almighty said, relating the words of Abraham, peace be upon him, fie upon you and upon what you worship besides God. Do you not understand?
So I went and spent some time looking at these words. This is going to be interesting. So in the Quran, it says, oof. Like, to you, what you serve without Allah. It's like a complaint. Oof is like a complaint. Fi, it's basically a naughty word to say. And you're just frustrated. It's a word you say out of frustration. To you and what you serve without Allah. Do you not understand? Wait a minute. Do you not understand? So let's take a look at this. Al-Tabari says, and his saying, ugh for you, means you and the gods you worship besides Allah are repulsive. Do you not understand the ugliness of what you are doing by worshiping that which neither harms nor benefits, so that you would abandon its work? Again, we're talking about jihad. We're almost done with this section, and again, we're explaining that enjoining good is encouraging jihad. Forbidding evil is telling people, you need to join jihad. I mean, you can't stay home. You have to join. You have to finance it at the very least. And we are about done here. Eric, would you mind we're going to go through this one if you could read the right side here.
Sure. Yeah. Grade 5, change by hand, such as breaking. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Such as breaking musical instruments, spilling wine, and expelling him from the usurped house. In this grade, there are 2 rules of conduct. The first one is that he should not directly carry out the change unless he is unable to compel the one who has been wronged to do so. If he can compel him to leave the usurped land, then he should not drag him or push him. The second is that he should break the musical instruments in a way that renders them unusable for spoilage and nothing more. When spilling wine, he should avoid breaking the vessels if he can do so. If he cannot do so except by throwing a stone or something similar at their containers, then he may do so, and the value of the containers is forfeited. If it is said it is not permissible to break them as a deterrent, and likewise to drag them by the foot and expelling them from the usurped house as a deterrent, we say such things are only permissible for the rulers, and it is not permissible for ordinary subjects to conceal the basis of their independent judgment in this matter.
So basically they say, well, we don't want you to ruin the containers of the alcohol. Why? Did you want to fill them with alcohol? Do you have another use for those containers? Oh. This desert people mentality here. They want to preserve the things that they don't have. You like destroy the musical instrument, but just like break the strings is kind of what they're saying. Or make it so they can play it later if they just leave. No, it's not what actually happens when they do these things. They go through and they smash things. You can find pictures of this all over the web when they're destroying instruments. All right, we are getting towards the end. Threats and intimidation, the 6th level. Intimidation, such as saying, leave this alone or I will do such and such to you. This should be given precedence over actual physical punishment if it is possible to do so first. The proper etiquette at this level is not to threaten with a threat that cannot be carried out, such as saying, I will destroy your house or I will take your wife captive. Notice over here on the right, or take your house, take your wife hostage. Do as I tell you or I'm going to do something mean, okay? Because if it says this with intent, it's forbidden, and he that says it without intent, it's a lie. Oh. So it's not necessarily wrong what they're saying, it's just bad etiquette. I'm sorry, you threaten a wife? God help you. You threaten family? God help you. I don't care if you're asking for a fight you can't finish. That's what it comes down to. If you're doing these things, you're threatening family, someone will get you. That's the Western way. I'm sorry. That is Western. We fight for our family. I don't know what they'll do over there, but yeah. All right. We are towards the end. Direct striking. Those up here in the red. Lloyd highlighted this in red. Assault. The 7th degree is to directly hit or kick a person, or similar measures that do not involve weapons. And I'm just going to skip down to the last paragraph on the bottom that is below. It says, this is permissible for individuals providing it's necessary and limited to what's needed. If repelling the wrongdoer, then one should refrain. Wait a minute. I mean, you're beating the crap out of the guy. until he does what you tell him. It's permissible. Yeah. Right there, that highlighted part. This is permissible, provided it's necessary. Well,
So
yeah.
not only can you beat your wife, you can beat your neighbor.
Yes.
That's good to know.
Yep. You're allowed to beat your neighbor if you think they're doing wrong. Can you beat your neighbor for beating his wife? No, because it's okay to beat your wife. Insane. And here we go. Force of arms. Last one. The 8th degree is when one is unable to censure the act by oneself and requires the armed assistance of others. You need an army here. Sometimes the person being reproved may also get people to assist him, and a skirmish may ensure. And the soundest legal opinion is that the degree requires authorization from the caliph, since it leads to strife and the outbreak of civil discord. Another view is that there is no need for the caliph's permission. So you need it, but you don't need the permission. You need the permission, you don't need the permission. You're creating a civil war here over something small, maybe, that never needed to be discussed. This is where we're getting. This is just insane. Now, I'm rushing through this because I don't see a lot of, this is just insane. A lot of this is just insane that critical thinking destroys. Attributes of a person censuring. And I'm just going to go down here and highlight this piece here. Knowledge. It says, having presented in details the rules for someone condemning the wrong, they may be summarized in 3 traits needed by the person giving the reprimand. Anyway, we've been talking about giving the reprimand. And now they want to go back to the details for the rules? This is in disorder. I mean, they tried to give us rules beforehand, and now they're giving us rules for the person who does this. Okay, the person has to have knowledge, which means he has to know Shariah. All right? That's another thing. God-fearingness. Well, he's supposed to fear Allah. Okay. 3rd, he's supposed to have good character. Well, if you're following Allah and you're okay with someone marrying your 6-year-old daughter, I don't know that you can call yourself good character. You're okay with beating the crap out of your neighbor because they had musical instruments. I have a problem with you. You're not good character.
Well, that's what I would just, I mean, that is such a subjective term. He says, oh, he has good character. Would that include somebody that owns slaves? Do you have good character if you're a slave owner? Or if you have those slaves are women for your harem? Or, in which you just mentioned, if you have a wife that is, 10 years old and you're 50, is that somebody of good character? Is that somebody that, you can you can say something, censure somebody else for violating what is good and right? No. If you meet any of those right there, you're a piece of garbage is what you are. And you have no.
If you're in your 60s and you've been married for 9 years to a girl who is now 18, your character sucks.
Yeah, you've lost the moral high ground if that's your life right there.
Yeah. And this is just sick. I'm just going to read over here on the right. It was narrated about one of the early Muslims. Now, this is another story that makes absolutely no sense. But I wanted to point this out because, again, we have yet to find a parable in Islam that makes sense. Again, this is Q6.2. It's supposed to have to do with cutting off greed from people, reducing connections, cutting off greed. It says it was narrated about one of the early Muslims that he had a cat. And every day he would take something from the glands of a butcher in his neighborhood for the cat. He saw something wrong with the butcher. So he went into the house and took the cat out. Then he came to the butcher and rebuked him. So he got rid of his cat, is what he's saying. Then he came to the butcher and rebuked him, saying, I will not give you anything for your cat, the butcher says after this. The guy says, I only rebuked you after I took the cat out and got rid of him. How is that benefiting either one of them?
But one of them, that he had a cat, and every day he would take something from the glands of a butcher.
So he's getting something from the butcher to feed the cat every day.
Okay. He saw something wrong with the butcher, so he went into the house and took the cat out.
Yeah, and he basically either kills the cat or just throws it out on the road. You know, get lost. Doesn't take care of the cat anymore. It doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense, but that's Islam.
Yeah, I'm past the point of caring right now. Stupid.
That's why I'm rushing at this point. It is kind of stupid. Q6.3. As for politeness, commanding the right and forbidding the wrong, it's obligatory. So Qur'an 20:44 says, "Speak unto him in gentle words," and they're saying that, you know, this being the Pharaoh, the enemy of Allah. So let's take a quick look. Qur'an 20:44. It says, "So both speak to him with gentle speech, perhaps he'll remember or fear." From Al-Madudi, it says, "And speak to him gently, perhaps he might fear, take heed or fear Allah." The two ways to bring a man to the right way are to convince him by argument or admonition, or to warn him. Wait a minute, this is not gentle speech. You're warning him of consequences. That's not gentle speech. You do this, or we're going to beat the crap out of you. That is not gentle speech. If they consider that gentle speech, they don't know what gentle means. Oh, this gets better. Wait a minute. We forgot part. We need to look at this one. The verse continues. So speak to him with gentle speech. Perhaps he will remember or fear. Allah doesn't know. Allah is the God of perhaps. So let's get into that part. Exodus 3:18 and 19 tells us the Lord God knows what's happening. And they say, "They shall hearken to your voice, and you shall come, you and the elders of Israel, unto the king of Egypt, and you shall say unto them, the Lord God of the Hebrews has met with us, and now let us go, we beseech you." 3 days journey. This is the Jews going to Pharaoh. All right, that we may they're telling him, we're going to go there. All right, and I'm sure that God says to them, "I'm sure that the king of Egypt will not let you go, not by a mighty hand." Wait a minute. So God is telling the Jews, the king's not going to let you go. God knows. God knows. He tells them ahead of time. That's how God works. He's not Uzzer like Allah. He's not tiny, small. No, God knows. This is the end of today's show. I did a interview a little ways back on the Hijra. You know, I found this fascinating that I was on a show with a man from Scotland, from the UK, and they had no clue of what's happening. They really had no clue. It's sad. This is why people like you, myself, and others, we need to somehow break into the Europe to get our voices heard in Europe, because they have no clue about what's happening. Maybe it's because people like us are being, they're keeping us silent over there. I don't know. But the general person that lives, Westerner, the general European, has no clue what's happening there. So my suggestion is get the voices out. Please share the information. And the next thing I have here, I saw this. Thought I'd put this up. Thousands of Somalis are forced to leave the U.S. as Trump admits temporary ends the Trump. I mean, I thought this was humorous. Probably shouldn't, but notice all these people here are white, and they're talking about thousands of Somalis leaving. There's only one out of all that crowd. Think about that. All right. You want to support the work I'm doing? Here's the books you can buy. I'm currently making audiobooks for these books. So watch, pay attention, and hopefully we'll see them coming out in the near future. Eric, any last words?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you. Everybody be safe out there.
Yes, enjoy the snowstorm. Stay warm. Find a place to stay safe and warm. God bless y'all. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Paul. We'll see you. God bless.